one we got about 2 weeks ago, it's understood that Micheleti has covered, should I say, about 70% of the National Orthopedic land. So that one is all taken. And then where we are contending is this area where some of our buildings are, and the court says, or according to paper, it's not ours, but our buildings are there. And then the front between our boundary and the main road.
I mean, I do not see how we could have built this portion when we knew that there's the edge. So most likely this was part of it. But just because the Land Commission would now want to say that, well, this is not yours, so they've got it here. Because really, you realize you don't see any margin. Exactly. So this may have been said so just to ward us off that, oh, this is not part of your land. But that has implications because it actually got us to lose a case for which they took the pickup of the hospital.
Yeah.
So my point is we need to interrogate even this boundary, and that at the end of the day, it may not just be here because it may go further.
So this issue of encroachment on your land has been ongoing for quite some time now. Why hasn't your outfit done something concrete about it to put a stop to this?
The outfit has done a lot in an attempt to put a stop to it. And that is evidenced by the correspondences we've had with various government agencies, especially the Ministry of Health, the Lands Commission, the regional administration, that's Greater Accra Regional Administration.
Be that these efforts are not adequate enough to then compel the appropriate authorities to intervene.
Okay, so you and I know that ours is to follow the right channels by talking to the ministry. You and I know that I cannot go to acquire land. It's the Lands Commission that do that on behalf of government. So mine is to report to my authorities. Mine is to do what I'm asked to do. I'm not an expert in acquiring lands. So on my part, everything that I'm supposed to do, I have done. You see, when you look at the background to this issue, I think somewhere in 2009, there was a court ruling on it that said that the land doesn't belong to Pantang Hospital. But we have realized that it doesn't matter whether the land is ours or not, okay? If development is allowed on the frontage of the hospital, it's going to disrupt operations to a large extent.
It is not that a land allocated for the hospital that others are encroaching on, but a private land which are then being given out, which you are then telling government to acquire it compulsorily for you. Is that a situation?
It is not a situation. It can
Well,
never...
From the explanation you've provided, that part of the land in contention now, on paper, doesn't belong to the hospital.
Okay, so this is what it is. And I'm going to give you a number of examples. Public facilities in this country. Have you seen any particular one that have private developments pigeoning in the facility? Tell me one. Okay.
How could it be in the facility if the land, if your facility should have a limit at a point?
There is always a buffer zone when government acquires very large pieces of land for future developments, whatever. And you see, it becomes clearer when I take you to the grounds. Okay? So we have the hospital, and the whole frontage of the hospital is being developed to the extent that even access is going to be restricted. Especially when you get to where the nursing training institution is. They're actually building in front of their gate.
As we've seen this over and over again, workers coming up every now and then. What new?
Yeah, I think the new thing that has to be done, which should have been done all along anyway, is simply for the government to come in and compulsorily acquire the plot of land. One, to make sure that no more encroaches there, and what is there which is not legitimately part of us, to acquire it. Otherwise, you'll be hemmed in, and now the government is talking about improving mental health, trying to get Pantang to be the focus of mental health care. If there's no land for us to do this, we can't. So it's very urgent, very important that we get the government to come in to compulsorily acquire the land that is still left unacquired. If I say still left unacquired, really what is happening is that, in fact, if you look at the frontage, for instance, it was obviously envisaged that in front of the hospital, between the hospital and the road, should be for the hospital, even though on paper it is really not part of ours. It's clear that it was originally envisaged to be part of us. We can't allow people to come and encroach and build on those areas just because it was originally not part of us.
Well, we are still at the Pantang Hospital where the nurses are demonstrating against or lamenting the sale of or encroachment of lands here. And earlier, my colleague Gabriel Oboda Torgbor-Ashong spoke to head of the Mental Health Authority as well as the head of the Pantang Hospital. And he also raised some concerns. So right now we are here with some of the nurses to speak to us about the meeting they had earlier in camera with the management of the hospital. So thank you very much and welcome to Metro TV.
Thank you very much.
Now, earlier you had a meeting with management. What was the outcome of the meeting?
They wanted to assure us that they will talk to the leaders, opinion leaders about their land, but we are waiting for them. We can't say much, but it seems we have tried our best, and they have tried their best securing the land, but you see, it seems that this is not going through. So the staff decided to go on sit-down demonstration to alert the government to come inside, come and take possession of the land for us. If you go there right now, in front of the mortuary, somebody is putting the building there, closer to our mortuary. It will be a wall between the mortuary and the person facility.
You have withdrawn your services, is that correct?
Yes, please, we have.
And for how long will
I
this?
would say partially, because we are at work and it's a sit down. So it's not like we are out of post. So partially, yes, for today and tomorrow.
So after this, the next 2 days, if nothing comes out of it, what will be the next step?
Wednesday, if by Wednesday we are not, we've not heard from any of the authorities, we'll go on a demonstration. After the demonstration, we'll just put down our tools. We'll draw our services totally.
But you have a duty to the patient. I mean, this land in contention is not, and is a no man's land. So if you have a duty to the patient, why are you making them fall victim to your land?
I don't think what we are fighting for is for ourselves, because if I understand you, it's no man's land. I would have also looked on, okay, because I don't have any take or personal interest in the land, but I'm doing this for my patients as well. Okay, when we were talking earlier, I made it known that the structures being erected there has motivated others to spring up other miniature structures on where they sell alcohol. Some has become ghettos. Do you understand? And we have substance abusers in the hospital. A patient will abscond from the hospital, and then by the time you trace and know where the patient is, they've gone to use. And it makes the work very difficult. It's not safe. Like we are citing an example that somebody shares a wall with the hospital, a resident shares a wall with the hospital. This patient can be aggressive. A patient can just enter your house and can cause harm to you. Staff have suffered various attacks from people coming to work at night. So we realize, no, if we don't do anything about this thing, it will be out of hand. Actually, what I have with me here is a series of letters that management have written to all various authorities to be able to address this issue, but nothing is coming out of it. And I'm paying for many trees and paying for say, so what's nice say, it gets out of hand.
We are still at Pantang, and right behind me, construction works are ongoing. And this portion of land is where part of it actually is where the workers at the hospital claim is being taken over by this private developer, and behind this very building is the hospital. And the only plea they have right now, the workers at the hospital have, is that government should intervene and then stop, if possible, halt totally the building that is being put up here.
It's been a marathon affair here at the Pantang Hospital, taking over from my colleague Eugenia. We still want to paint a clearer picture for you. So this is an entrance to the Pantang Hospital, specifically for the training school. So you can see clearly written on the main gate, Nurses Training College, Pantang. And just observe what I'm about to describe to you briefly. So you are seeing the pillar. Just behind the pillar, then we are talking about where the school is located. But deep behind this school gate or pillar, then you can see a number of houses, have been built and then named El Shaddai, Adonai, and a number of other names which my colleague Virginia spoke to you about. So look at where the main entrance is, and then just behind into the school is these buildings, being put up.